Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In response to my colleague from Oklahoma, I believe the Secretary of Defense has just responded last week and admitted that the $1 billion mission that he led against the Houthies, who do not have a Navy, has not restored the transit of U.S. flag commercial vessels through the Red Sea, and in fact has resulted in the loss of 2 F-18 Hornets to the tune of $60 million apiece, as well as, I believe the last count was 7 Reaper drones to the tune of another $200 million. You are blowing through money like my fellow cadets and I did in our First Liberty after basic camp. Luckily, I didn't end up with a questionable tattoo. Your failures, Mr. Secretary, since you've taken office has been staggering. You sent classified operational information over Signal to chest thump in front of your wife, who, by the way, has no security clearance, risking service member lives in the process. You blew the $1 billion fight against the Houthies, whom, again, as my colleague says, has no Navy, and yet you lost all of those aircraft.
Senator Tammy Duckworth torched Secretary Hegseth in a takedown that should be studied in every civics class, hammering him for staggering failures that endangered Americans and drained taxpayers dry. She laid out receipts. At $200 million blown on 2 F-18 Hornets. Another 8 at $200 million torched on 7 Reaper drones. And losing classified materials like a teenager losing their keys. Duckworth didn't stop there. She dragged Hegseth over the coals for mishandling the disastrous war against the Houthies, a conflict he promised to win, but instead turned into a humiliating, costly quagmire. This wasn't just a routine hearing. It was a public accountability reckoning. Duckworth makes it clear. Hegseth's incompetence isn't an abstract policy dispute. It's a danger to American lives and a betrayal of every taxpayer footing the bill. And the worst part, Hegseth still sat there trying to deflect, while the facts Duckworth echoed like a gavel slamming down on his failed tenure.
You've created such a hostile command environment that no one wants to serve as your chief of staff or work with you in other senior DoD leadership roles. But what we should all be talking about, more than all of this, is that you have an unjustified, un-American misuse of the military in American cities, pulling resources and attention away from core missions to the detriment of the country, the war fighters, and yes, the war fighting that you claim to love. I don't know if this is because you are too inexperienced and incompetent to understand the real threats facing our country, or if it's because you are just an unqualified yes man who can't tell the president how to keep Americans safe. You are focusing on renaming bases for Confederate generals. You said just now to Senator King.
Senator Tammy Duckworth ripped into Secretary Hegseth with precision, calling him out for creating a toxic work environment and abusing the military he claims to support. 1. She made clear that Hegseth's lack of experience and competence isn't just embarrassing, it's a direct threat to the safety of Americans. Duckworth didn't pull punches, reminding Hegseth that while he's busy defending the name of a Confederate base to score cheap culture war points, she'd rather be associated with a Medal of Honor recipient than a traitor who fought against the United States. This clash wasn't about politics, it was about values and truth. Duckworth used her own military service to expose the hypocrisy of Hegseth hiding behind patriotism while failing the very service members he's supposed to protect. In that moment, Duckworth made it clear. Leadership means choosing integrity over nostalgia for traitors, and Hegseth's choices prove his unfit to lead.
That to a man and to a woman, we would rather be associated with the old Confederate names. Well, I am one of those women. I served at Fort Rucker, Alabama, a base that was named for a traitor who took arms against the United States of America, led troops who killed Americans. It was renamed for Mike Novosel, a Medal of Honor recipient who, in his citation for the Medal of Honor, includes that he saved 29 American lives, to include hovering backwards in a helicopter towards an enemy bunker where a wounded American was laying and saved that person, including after being taken fire himself. I know a little something about what it takes to fly a helicopter when you've been hit by enemy fire. That was heroic. I'd rather be associated with Mike Novosel than a failed Confederate traitor. I don't know whether you are inexperienced or too incompetent, but I wonder when you will actually focus on our nation's warfighting mission. We know that California is just a deliberate, systematic, political, and dangerous campaign led by you. We should not be using our military to play cops against Americans. General Kane, as chairman, a key part of your job is to coordinate military planning across the joint force. Is the department currently incorporating into any military plans expanding the use of the reserve forces to include the National Guard or active duty troops to support domestic law enforcement, including in other locations in the United States?
Senator, you know, we careful.
No, General.
Well, it's not really a yes or no question, Madam Senator. We plan all kinds